Hello, NAI Hoops Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Road to Muni podcast. We are off and running. Kind of a fun part of the NAI is that some of these teams are one game into their season, while others are starting league play. So we had plenty of league games this week. I have a couple of teams that we talked about last week, Union in specific, that is 2-0, coming off two big wins after after a kind of a blowout loss to Indiana Wesleyan. And Coach, I think we'll just start there. I think it's you could probably talk better on this one, but with Union getting down 17 early in that Pikeville game, conference play, you kind of wonder how that's going to do coming off a 40-point, almost a 40-point loss to Indiana Wesleyan, and how the mindset is. But the Bulldogs were able to gather themselves and pull off a win, and then they followed it up with a win on Saturday too. And it's kind of a good sign when you can, when you get down 17 and dig your way out, you can start winning some ball games. Maybe they can start piecing it together now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good. My coaching side, good to see that response, right? When your team gets down early, coming off the heels of that, it certainly crosses your mind. I know when you're sitting on the sidelines, like, oh boy, here we go again, and this can't become a pattern, right? But you're also dealing with a roster that has got some experience on it. Got a great player in Markel Turner and others, but so I think that experience showed through a little bit. Those kids are competitors. They're used to winning. They're not used to losing. They're not used to being down big. So I think some of the history and experience showed up, and they were able to turn the tide in that game, which that's one of those moments you look back and you say, that was a key to our season. That turnaround in that game was a key to our season. So yeah, good moment for them, good win, and everything else.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it. The reason why they've been, the 9 or 10 time, defending champions, they don't lose at home, and that was a home game that they were able to beat Pikeville in, and then also turned around and won a road game at Johnston on Saturday. But I think it's as you look across the standings all across the NEI, even outside or even in non-conference play, and there's some teams that I think that are maybe one-win teams or have a losing record right now who are very, very good basketball teams. They just lost some games for whatever reason, and now you're going to see some teams that are also 4-0 or 5-0 who maybe don't have the best strength of schedule and we're able to pull off some wins. And so you look at standings and maybe some of those teams at top maybe not be there for long, but also some of those teams at the bottom are much better than what their record shows right now too. So still pretty early in the NEI NEI season, but I don't want to sit there and tell you that or sit here and tell everybody that these games don't matter, because they do. But at the same time, records right now probably don't matter as much, especially as we start turning the corner and get into more league play coming up here.
Yeah, and it's funny how with some time that passes, people forget early season. Not totally forget it, but people are hunting down signature wins. You're trying to build your resume, and if you're really putting yourself out there, that's probably going to come with some bumps and bruises. Oftentimes, the teams that come out of the break and hit January and February and start hitting their strides are the ones that end up playing in the tournament. So. Not that these games don't matter, because they do, like you said, but usually the only time they come up are, remember when so-and-so beat so-and-so, right? And they have wins against so-and-so. The losses, not that they don't get brought up unless there's a real head-to-head conflict, those head-to-heads can sting a little bit come selection time. But at the end of the day, your body of work is what you're evaluated on. And that body of work includes these first 4 or 5 games, but the first 4 or 5 games don't define the body of work.
Yeah. I mean, we even talked a little bit about it last week with the ARC ratings, and, a game that you had circled and previewed for us in the coach's corner last week with MNU and Oklahoma Wesleyan. And Oklahoma Wesleyan kind of did what they do at home. They just controlled the pace. They controlled the entire game, basically. And I still think, as we talk about veteran groups, that Mid-American team is going to be really good throughout the season.
Yeah,
but it's cool to see, DJ Talton, who little guard for Oklahoma Wesleyan. And if nobody's been able to see him play, one of the best on-guard defenders in the NEI. But at the same time, he came out and had a big scoring effort. And I made a tweet. I know your social media list, but made a tweet that said, DJ Talton more than just a defender or a great defender, and it's so true. I mean, he is a kid who, is a specialist as a defender, but when teams shut down, Stokes and Leifsky a little bit, DJ's been showing up in these big games, and he did this weekend as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that again, that game, it is what it is. They they went out there and they competed, and I talked a little bit last week about who was gonna, battle the wills a little bit in terms of, Wesleyan's defense versus the other side's offense, and the defense won. So hats off to them. It was a good game, and those are good tests. I mean, those games make you better one way or the other. So, and yes, some really good individual players in that game as well on both sides of the ball. So, but that's why both those teams will probably be in the tournament come February.
Yeah, and just going out west a little bit too, just to kind of make the trip across the country. We saw a top 25 showdown also with Antelope Valley heading over to the Masters, California, and Masters went out to the Abe Linus Classic in Oklahoma City. Fared pretty well out there after their first loss to Oklahoma City, but turned around and beat Antelope Valley. I think they scored to being over 20 points, but really fun group. I think the Masters, I always tell people I know that the NEI is a lot of focal point in the Midwest and even the Great Lakes a little bit, but I always try to emphasize, how good some of those teams out west are, or even the Sun Conference, who you're pretty familiar with. They had a pretty big week as well. They've had a really good non-conference. They've had some big wins, and I think that maybe why these wins or losses to an extent don't matter, but some of these leagues maybe getting a little bit of eyes opening to as they gather wins against some of these traditionally big time conferences.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about, like, we'll use the Southern States Challenge as an example. I mean, coming out of that, it was, night one, I think, was a clean sweep, and it's not like, that's the best versus the best and so on and so forth down the list. So that was there. Kaiser went and beat Faulkner at Faulkner, which, again, Kaiser, you can look at the record, whatever you want to look at, but it's a really good team. Chief does a really good job coaching those guys. So yeah, there's good teams everywhere. And, I think that is one thing. I mean, I think that there are some stories, right, that happen with preseason games. So if enough of teams from this conference play enough of teams from that conference, and there's a clear disparity in results, then that can also weigh into the conversation a little bit, even if it's not an objective criteria. Come selection time, there's a subjective perception that weighs on people for sure when it comes time to get in the postseason.
Yeah, and you just kind of wonder how some of these games maybe, like you just said, get brought up into that conversation when you're starting to talk about, maybe some of these teams that have gotten only 2 or 3 teams into the national tournament, maybe they get into a 4th team or even a 5th team in there. And maybe some of the teams that are getting, conferences that are getting 5 or 6 teams in are all of a sudden go down to 3 teams, And I don't know there's any perfect formula. We always mention at the end of the year, the committee has a very tough job, but but it is our job to, as on the podcast and then the website, is to highlight these teams, and it's just kind of fun to watch some of these teams and leagues that maybe haven't gotten the credibility they always do. That they're starting to shine a little bit this year. So still have to do it. It's a long season. We'll see if they can keep it up, but just kind of watching some of these names pop up and some of these wins or top 25 wins that some of these teams are getting. They pile up as a league, and I know the Sun and a couple of these other leagues have started to do that.
Yep. Yeah, and leagues ebb and flow too, right? There can be a run where a league is really, really, really good, and then it can take a dip. Nothing lasts forever. So I think I really love the new format. We're just including so many more teams, at some level than we did before, and I think it's just opened the door. The competitive level's gone up. I think we're seeing more early season matchups, like fun matchups, these top teams playing each other, because people are realizing we have to do that to solidify our position for the tournament. And So I think it's all been good from my perspective. The merger and the expansion of the tournament and everything else has been really fun to watch.
Yeah, and we have roughly a week and a half here of some games of we're gonna start picking up league play too, but then as we get Thanksgiving, we're gonna have a couple big time classics that come up that we'll be talking about and breaking down. I know that any other show is always a popular one. The Battle of the Beach is always has been a fun one. I know that the Cactus Classic out west is something that pops up for out west, but we're going to see a lot more teams getting into league play over the next.
Yeah, thanks, Junior. And yeah, it's I don't know. A couple of these games we've chosen the last couple of weeks have been the margins have been a little bigger than I thought they would be. So I don't know. One team's probably happy with me for that, and the other not so much. But this week turning to down south, and we got Xavier, Louisiana, going at Loyola down in New Orleans. So I believe these schools are essentially across the street from each other, very close to one another. Game is actually tomorrow, so we're going to turn around. We're putting the show maybe out shortly after the podcast hits. This game is going to be tipping off 7:30 Central. So looking at Xavier first, number 22 right now in the most recent poll. They are an elite defensive team. I watched their whole game the other day against Alcorn State, and they are an impressive defensive team. Coach does an amazing job down there with them, and year in and year out, they're top 10 in the country in points per game allowed. So he does a great job with that defense. They're 2-0 this year. And this is a team that I really think has, a Final 16 appearance on the mind, getting to Municipal Auditorium. And I think that is watching them play the first few games. I think this is a really, really good basketball team, and I have no doubt they could be at Municipal Auditorium come the end of the year. Loyola getting votes nationally. They're 1-1. Only loss coming to Shreveport, so nothing to hang your head about there. Shreveport's a really good team, number 9 in the country. And the thing that jumps out to me as I looked at them and just thinking about them is they're going to be tested early. We were just talking about that a little bit, but they're going to face 4 of their 5 games. They're in the middle of the cycle right now against top 25 teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate that and move through it. We'll actually talk about that in our keys here in a minute. So that's the matchup we're looking at this week, and 2 really good programs going at it. So what are we watching? What are we watching for this week? Handle the heat. Xavier, can they take care of the ball against Loyola's pressure? Key for them, I think, is going to be less than 12 turnovers. Offensively, they really want to find the paint, get the ball to the rim. They do have some good shooters. But I think for Xavier to be successful, they're really going to have to limit their turnovers every possession and be consistent with that. A few games this year so far, Loyola's forcing 20 turnovers. So I think that's really an important key for Xavier. Loyola, key for them is going to be execute against that elite half-court defense of Xavier. Their length, their athleticism across the board. So can they consistently find quality shots and evaluating that using field goal percentage as the metric? Can they be 48 plus on the field goal percent side? If they are, which is hard to do against Xavier, I think they're going to have a really good shot. Xavier defense, I put book it down. They're the top 10 every year in points per game allowed. They want the game in the low 60s. That is going to be a key. They just need to be who they are. High level of execution. Like I said, length, athleticism, effort, execution. They're the total package, and the coaching staff there does a phenomenal job. Loyola, on the flip side, what a great opportunity. You look at a schedule and you say, wow, 4 out of 5 games against top 25 or, receiving votes teams. It's a real gauntlet that they're in. And on the flip side of that is what an unbelievable opportunity to set the tone for the season, defend their home court, and really get a statement win here in an early season. So that's where my eyes are turning this week, turning tomorrow, right? 7:30 Central. Excited to see this matchup and 2 great programs, 2 really good coaches going at it.
Yeah, it should be a really good one. I've got a chance to watch both these teams play already this year. What Alfred Williams does, and obviously he was on the coach's conversation this week, but what he does with his team defensively year in and year out is just so fun to watch. From not just, I mean, even if you're a traditionalist, but like, I mean, if you're just a basketball lover, they play so hard defensively, and they're so long and so athletic, and he does a really good job. And I watched some of their in-game adjustments in the Dillard game earlier this year,
Yeah.
and he always impresses me with not just what they do from a scouting report, but also those in-game adjustments that he can make defensively is always fun to watch as well. And they guard some things a little bit differently, maybe than they started off. But yeah, a lot of respect for him and his defensive mindset and his defensive coaching ability. And they got a player, Corey, Corey Wells, who coming off a Red River Athletic Conference player of the week nominee, and kid that's been really good for them, and he's a lot of fun to watch at his size and athleticism. Part of what makes them good defensively is just their length, and he's certainly got a lot of that. And then you got a Loyola team who, this is I believe the first year that I think they maybe have one guy, if they have any left over from their national championship team 2 years ago, maybe it's one guy, but this is such a fun team to watch just because they carried off into their, after the national title 2 years ago. Last year, they really did well in the Southern States Athletic Conference, and they're a team that is feisty. I don't know if that's a good word, but they're feisty. They play hard. They're scrappy as well. Alex Hammond and Milan Meja, I hope I said that right, lead them in scoring, and that'll be certainly the two players to watch in this one. But because they were so good at taking their best players out, it'll be some of these other guys will have to step up too. But certainly a fun game to watch, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good one for sure. And I think if you like defense, turn this game on. I think, and just again, quality coaching, really good players. These kids on both sides play so hard. I mean, you can't turn on a Xavier Loyola game and not notice that. But they don't just play hard; they play smart. They're really well coached. The execution is at a high level. I'm really impressed with both these teams, and I'm excited to watch this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. I mean, when you're only programs are only a few miles apart from each other. Not that their entire rosters are from the state of Louisiana, but most of these kids know each other. Most of these kids are competed in AAU circuit together, or either on the same team or on different teams against each other. But there'll be a lot of things to watch in this one, because I know that these games tend to be fun just from the standpoint that a lot of these kids know each other, and they want their Louisiana school, Xavier or Loyola, to come out successful in this one.
Yeah. I got to throw a shout here too when I'm looking at the screen. And those aren't highlighted because I think they're extra important. They're highlighted because I couldn't. The yellow font doesn't show up very good for Xavier. I'm trying to color.
Joining us today on our coaches conversation is Xavier head coach Alfred Williams. Coach, I know we had you on a couple years ago, and I'm glad to have you back this year. You are coming off a big time year last year, going to the national tournament, and off to a 2-0 start this year, and just want to welcome you to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be on, and really excited about this year, and hopefully continue to put the steps together for us to make a run at this national tournament.
Well, I know off the 2-0 start, and then you're coming off an exhibition game with some guys with some XULA ties over there, but coming off an Alcorn State, and then you turn around and getting ready for Loyola. That your guys' game against Dillard. I preface this by saying that you guys are always one of the top defensive teams in the country. I know that you guys have one of the best scoring defensive teams in the country over the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
That maybe early on you guys were settling in defensively, but then you guys look like in maybe mid or late season form in that second half there.
Yeah, absolutely. Us defending has been a staple of our program for many years. And, we're just trying to keep the tradition of what Xavier basketball is being able to defend at a high level, just make things difficult on the offensive side for the opposing team, and hopefully be able to cause enough chaos during the course of the game that we can be able to convert some of those into points on our end. So it's definitely good to be off to a good start. Not satisfied where we are because I feel like we definitely can do a lot better. We got some things that we got to clean up on our end for sure, but we've been really focusing on those, trying to make sure that we address those in practice, and be in the right mindset, headspace going into the games where we can focus on those small things that we need to work on.
Yeah, I know this, and Coach can puppy dog it all he wants. His defense is a problem. If I'm on the other side, his defense is a problem. They have athleticism, they got length, they got hunger, they got execution. And Coach Williams is one of the better coaches I know, and he's the only guy I know that's undefeated against me too. So he's but no, he's a great coach. And I'll tell you what, that defense. If you're a defensive person, then watch Xavier play some basketball. These guys can really play, and they execute at such a high level. I watched that whole Alcorn game the other day, and I know whatever you want to win, I get it, but those guys would say the same thing. That was a problem for them.
Yeah, first, Coach, I appreciate you, man, because you made me a better coach watching your film and coaching and scouting against you, man. You made me a better coach for sure, man. But the Alcorn game was tough because we came in just trying to take away a few things, and we were able to do that. But then we had a lot of things that you can't control going into a game. I'm a starting point guard, so we had to switch up our lineups a little bit, and then he ended up going 1 for 10 for the night. So I'm like, if he goes 50%, that's a totally different game for us, And looking back at it in hindsight, there were some things that we could have done. I could have done differently from a coach, but just trying to make sure that we hang our hat on things that we work on, and we had our chances. We definitely had our chances for sure.
One more thing, I noticed too that the second half it looked like they turned the heat up a little bit, got out pressed you a little bit more, right? And that did give you some problems.
Yeah,
I mean, whether it decided the game or not, it definitely influenced the tempo and ability to execute and things like that. And so thinking about this week's game, right, Loyola, you're gonna see a little bit of that more than likely tomorrow night too. So without giving away all the trade secrets, what was kind of the conversation on the heels of that game, and also as it relates to getting ready for tomorrow?
We always like to control the tempo of the game, and Alcorn made a switch when they put 4 speedy guards out there, and one guy that was maybe 6'3", 5-man, and he just they just kind of dictated the tempo of the game, and we fell into the trap. And by the time we got out of it, they had created definitely a separation. And so, just going into this game, this week, we have a crazy week coming up. But starting with Loyola, man, they're really good at putting pressure on the basketball, creating you, trying to get you to turnover. Really good in the gaps, and so we're just trying to make sure that we can control the tempo of the game what we want to, and run what we want to, and then come back and then execute when we need to. And so, but they're definitely going to pose a real concern for us because again, they're coming off the heels of Alcorn, where the pressure was kind of intense a little bit going right into the game. So it'll be a good challenge to see what we've learned from that game for sure.
Yeah.
I know Coach Bussey's a former player at XULA, some of those ties, and I'm sure that he wanted that win as much as anybody too. But going off of that one, and I know that's kind of I know you guys have played them the last couple of years too, and it always seems to be a pretty good game. But one thing that we kind of talked about as well before he came on was, obviously you already faced Dillard, but now you're going to face Loyola and a lot of New Orleans and a lot of Louisiana guys on both teams, and kind of makes for a fun game just because everybody kind of knows each other, whether they played against each other or with each other on the AAU scene. And can you kind of maybe talk about controlling the emotions when it goes into some of these games, because your schools are only a few miles apart, and I know that the crowds are usually pretty big for these games, and even though you guys got one of the biggest and nicest arenas in the NEI, the crowds are usually pretty hopping when the New Orleans schools come into town.
Oh yeah,
not into town, across town.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of people when they saw our schedule, they looked like, man, you're gonna open up the year with a rivalry game, really? But you know, I had wanted to put us back into that same situation that we came out of national tournament. We went to College of Idaho in 2,200 standing room only, super intense, super crazy, and I wanted to put us back in that same environment. So the best way I know without the best cost efficient way too, you know, go
Yeah,
play at Dillon.
let's
You
not
know,
kid ourselves. That was the real driver. You
yeah,
save
yeah,
that money.
yeah,
You're not.
very cost
There's
effective.
only one
Yeah,
meal involved,
absolutely.
maybe at that.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
you know, the game, yeah, we had strategy. Yeah, we had some things that we wanted to take away. The hardest part was playing that game and, you know, not having any film because that was the first game. So, couldn't get a hold of a scrimmage or anything like that. So, you had to old school, check out the roster, do some research. You know, okay, what are the tendencies? All right, look, this is what they're good at. Hopefully, they didn't get that much better over the summer. It
Yeah.
totally changed their tendencies, man. But we just went in just to make sure we do what we do best, and then we were able to create some separation, and then kind of ran away with that one. But those games are super emotional. Those games come down to who can stay composed the longest, and also who can make the least amount of mistakes. So we kind of we did that with Dillard. Hopefully, you know, tomorrow will be or today tomorrow will be a tough one for us. You know, Coach Red is a good coach. He won the league first year out in the Southern States. He got the guys playing really really hard. Had a tough game against Shreveport the other night that went down to the wire. So it's going to be definitely a test for us, you know. But I think that guys coming off of Alcorn game had a really, really good week of practice and preparation. So I think we'll be definitely ready for it.
And
Yeah.
Coach, just to maybe talking about, so you brought up film and watching film. Are you guys big at filming or scouting a team, or do you guys, when you're so good defensively, focus on trying to take away maybe the other team's two or three best things, or certain players or tendencies? I mean, I don't want you to again give away the playbook here, but you know, maybe what makes you guys so good defensively, and what goes into scouting a team?
Uh, Coach Kev, can I use you for example?
No, man, you can't. You know there's a shelf life on how long you can pour salt in the wound,
Oh
Coach.
man, I'm
And
sorry,
and
man.
no, you're good. You do you say whatever you need to say.
Nah,
This is
man.
about you. Your
So
programs. Yeah, go for it.
you know, we kind of identify the top guys, the top 8 or so guys. And then, you know, we're big on tendencies and we're big on just identifying what players are good at. And once we get to that point, we kind of create our defensive package around like what we're trying to do, take away, make hard, make them do something different other than what they want to do. And so, you know, this different our principles pretty much make the reversal passes hard, close out the shooters, you know, guard, take pride in guarding your guy. You know, old school principles, man. Sit down and guard your guy. You know, and then we try to make sure that at the end of the day, man, when the shot goes up, we try to do a great job of boxing and rebounding and just trying to take care of the things that we can control. Not worry about referees, not worry about if shots are made or missed. Just control the things that we can control, man. Just give a lot of effort. And then also just making sure that you're there for your teammate, whether that's rotation, whether that's on the scramble. Just make sure you're there for your teammate and just big time on the communication piece. I think that's an underrated part of basketball right now. A lot of kids don't want to talk. More skill, but they rely on their skill versus doing the things that the old school way, communication, talking, you know, just doing all the little small things that helps win the game. So we try to pride ourselves in just doing those small things that kind of a lot of people overlook time to time. Just like, for example, just fundamentals. Doing the fundamentals very, very well.
Yeah, yeah. I had a chance when the Final Four was down in New Orleans. I had a chance to go visit after they had kicked my teeth in. I decided I better go try to. I'm pretty good at trying to learn from my losses. So after Coach kicked my teeth in, I thought it'd be good to go over there and learn a little bit. So, you know, I'm going to tell you a little bit of something about the way he's talking about the way his team plays is reflective of this university that he works for too. Coach Mitchell, his assistant coach, who's a great guy. I pop over to the school, and this guy shows me around. I was there for a few hours. But the coolest part was I got to take a tour of the campus and start interacting with some of the people on that campus. What a quality university, led by some great people. Coach Williams is a reflection of the type of person that's there. Mm-hmm. And also the student athletes. I'm going to give a shout out to the university, not just student athletes, but students. I mean, we didn't bump into a single person that wasn't, hey, how you doing? Great to meet you. I mean, what a phenomenal school. And so I just want to shout out, I think the details of that university in terms of how they do business and how they educate young people, it also shows up. And I think it's cool how much intentionality you have around that too in your program. And you have, for people that don't know, maybe share a little bit about the university.
Right.
I mean, I met some young people that are going places when I was touring that campus. But tell people a little bit about Xavier University. What makes it special? What type of kid is a good fit from a recruiting standpoint? All that kind of stuff.
So we a lot of people don't know we have a really extremely hard job. Our school is one of the top academic schools in the country when it comes to STEM programs. So our school is known for our STEM. We have pharmacy college right on campus. And so a lot of students that come to Xavier, they are biology pre-med, chem pre-med. You have farm pre-med. They want to be scientists, they want to be doctors, they want to be, the OBGYNs, the dentistries of the world. So a lot of our students come here for that. We have other majors too. The Division of Business is outstanding. Our Mass Communications division is really, really good. Also, education program is really, really good. And so the type of student that we have to attract, we're basically in competition with Division I schools every year, because those are the type of kids that we have to attract just to give ourselves a chance to compete, not only classroom, but also on the basketball court. And so that's what makes the job even that much challenging, where you have to make sure that you're getting the right student athlete. And I guess my old boss used to say it's the job. You can say what you want to say, complain, you don't have this, you don't have that, but this is the job. So it makes recruiting that much tougher. It makes identifying that student athlete that fits the program, the university, and the fabric of the community. It makes it that much harder. So we have to dig at a bit to make sure we find the right guys. And so far we've been pretty successful at it. It's getting harder, but we've been pretty successful at finding those guys.
It's interesting too, and I think it's also a great opportunity, right? When you're recruiting kids that are higher academic, and their motors tick at a different level, right? Mm-hmm. Now when you're talking about scouting and recruiting, the depth of information you can give them, that they can actually execute, is better, right? And Absolutely. So I know the depth at which you scout and feed them with information to execute and expect them to execute on. Mm-hmm. And because these young men, these student athletes that are in his program are bright, they're really bright kids, he's putting information to them and they can actually do something with it. So they just get it really quickly. Yeah. So it's that part's to your advantage,
sometimes I feel like I give them too much information. It's like system overload. So I have to catch myself as a coach and as a student of the game. I have to catch myself to make sure that, hey, I'm giving them not too much where it takes away their instincts, but just enough where they're prepared and like, okay, this is what he likes to do. This is what the team wants to do. Take off these 4 things here and let's play basketball. So I have to keep checking myself from time to time to make sure that I don't give them too much or Coach Mitchell, he jokes with me. He's like, man, coach is the X and O guy. I'm the defensive guy. I let him do all the X and O's, man, and I try not to go overboard because you want to run so much stuff, man, but you just got to make sure personnel matches what you want to run at times like that. So that's a challenge over here too. You got an idea of what you want to run, but
Right.
it changes from year to year. So, like you said, having the kids that can be able to retain that information is vital for us, for sure.
Yeah.
And no pun intended if you can't hear an echo there, but I echo what Coach said because we have some great SIDs around the country. But Ed, and I know you could probably talk about what his actual job title is. I know he's more than SID, but Ed and I have some good talks, and he is one of the most knowledgeable guys that out there. He passes information out for the last 3 or 4 years to us, not just on your program, but even I was telling Coach Lubbers last week, even when Loyola was making their big run, some of the stats he throws out and then was researching and investigating, and he seems to know almost every SID out there too. So he can research things quick. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Ed because he does help. Not directly helps out the site, but he definitely passes along a lot of information to help out the site, and I appreciate everything he does. So when Coach said you have a lot of great people around you, Ed's a guy I talk to quite a bit. So
yeah, Ed's off the chart, man. He's one of a kind. He gets it, man, and you can ask him something 20, 30 years ago. He'd be like, yeah, I remember that game. That was like, Ed, how do you remember that? But no, he has a gift for sure.
I think one of the fun parts about the great work that Junior's done and with his partner building up, the Hoops Report is just the exposure that different schools, different programs get that, that a lot of people probably don't know anything about. They know Xavier, they think, the other Xavier, right? They don't think about Xavier, Louisiana. And I'm telling you, having walked that campus, stand in that Division I arena, that is probably arguably the best facility on that standpoint in the country, if not one of the top couple.
Yeah.
And then you just combine that with the great culture on campus, the high academics, great basketball program. I think about sort of destination type schools, and yours is definitely one that comes to mind. And so I think this is a great opportunity to highlight things like that for people that may not know Xavier, Louisiana like that. You should. So it's a great place. So hats off to you and everybody there. It's a great opportunity.
We appreciate it, man. This remembering, I go down memory lane quite a bit. My first year, we went 10-20. And a lot of folks were questioning, like, was this the right hire? Is this the guy for the job? And, a lot of times when you're in those situations, it definitely exposes your true character, who you are, and what's around you. And so at that moment, me and Coach Mitchell, this is year 8 for me, but he replaced me when I took the job in Harris State University in St. Louis. He replaced me as assistant coach, and then I came back as head coach the following year. We've been together since. But once that happened, after the 10-20 year, we vowed, like, hey, man, let's make sure we get this thing right. And so we just went to work. We looking under every rock, every bush, every cranny. We was looking everywhere, man, trying to make sure we found the right players, man. And once we got it going, it surprises guys that some of my guys on my team are biology pre-med students, and they were all Americans. They were like, really? Like, yes, he was a bio pre-med guy, so it's fascinating to hear those stories. A lot of times you don't get to see it because it's not in like the bulletins or anything like that, but it's a cool story. And then outside of that, seeing our guys, the last couple of years, we've had 4 guys go play pro ball, just having that opportunity, man, to go play. And of the 4, 2 of them have won championships at the next level. So that makes me feel good. Like, hey, the stuff that we're doing, it's able to translate to the next level for those guys. And they just have a different hunger now. And then where a lot of guys just want to score, they're able to do both. And so that's one thing we kind of hang our hat on when guys leave here, that they're prepared for whatever is thrown at them, they're prepared.
Well, I don't want to throw any salt into Coach Lubbers' wounds here, but one of those that you're talking about is Rashawn Martin, who is really, really good.
Yeah, no, that is salt, Junior. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else has something they want to
touchy
contribute
there, but
let me know. I'm here to be beaten.
But no, just to kind of go off and you talk about some of your players and just talk about this year's team a little bit too. I know Corey Wells is coming off the Red River Athletic Conference Player of the Week. And then obviously he's had a good couple of years there for you. But then even TJ Jones is leading you in scoring and the rest of your group. And it was funny, and his name escapes me in a Dillard game, but just to elaborate on how hard your guys play, the highlight, the dunk that we put on Twitter was that young man's only 2 points in the entire game, and it was one of the nastiest tip dunks I think we've seen all year so far. But I just think that's just that shows the effort and depth you guys have too, when you have guys that are playing all out even when they're not scoring the ball.
Right, right. We have some really, really good guards here, man, and I think we probably have. I think we have like the best trio of guards, maybe in the country. I think with TJ. TJ's a grad, fifth year guy for us, man. He's won 3 championships for us. He's been rock steady for us for a number of years now. You have Lance Williams. Lance Williams was a second team Red River last year. He's just steady. He led us in scoring for the Alcorn game. Just real steady, hit shots, defended at a high level. And then you have a guy who's not even talked about with Jeremy Lindsay. He's a guy that took over a role of one of our best defenders, man. And he's able to do it on both ends, just be it physical, being a defensive anchor for us, night in and night out, taking the best challenges on with those guys and being able to respond, And then, we have a young man named Jathan Ross who he broke the school record last year in threes made in a game twice. The record was 8 threes. He had a game in conference. Now he broke the record with 9, and then a conference tournament he broke the record with 10. And he's a guy, I think he's probably one of the best shooters in the country, if not the best. He gets hot, man. It's hard to stop him. It's tough because we got so many good players on our squad that he doesn't get the amount of attempts that a lot of other guys get on another team. So if he was able to get 15 attempts a game or so, he'll probably be one of the leading scorers in the country. But our scoring and our depth of our team is well balanced. And so, we have a lot of different ways we can attack and things like that. And then you have Corey Wells. Corey's been, like I said, a 4-year guy for us. He's steadily improved every year. This is his time to kind of step out there and really showcase what he's able to do. And so we have some good depth, good talent. We have one guy that hasn't played yet, but he should be getting cleared here real soon. So I'm gonna wait for him so you can kind of see him, and then you'll see what this team really looks like when we play. Almost full, not full yet, but we almost full. So real excited about this opportunity to be able to showcase, let the world know, see how hard we work. We practice every morning. We're a 6 a.m. practice every morning, and so a lot of people ask like, why do y'all practice so early? But one, we have to practice that early because of the pre-med and the labs and things like that. We practice later in the day. You have labs going on, so that's one reason why we practice early. But it also helps us with our mental toughness, and guys are able to respond at 6 in the morning. So if you can do it at 6 in the morning, I feel you can do it at 7:30 at night. It's game time.
Yeah, and I know you guys are getting ready for Loyola and probably not looking much further ahead of that, but I do want to maybe wrap it up with the Battle of the Beach that you guys have coming up, and just kind of a unique experience for you guys. I know it's not a long trip for you, but it used to be a tournament format. It's kind of changed how it changed the format over the 3 days. But you want to maybe talk about just your guys thinking of the scheduling and traveling out there, and even some of the competition you're going to face out there. And it's quickly becoming one of the best classics here in the NEI.
Yeah. The Battle of the Beach has been one that we've kept our eye on for the last couple of years. Just watching who plays in it. How do they do towards the end of the year? Like, how did that prepare them and everything like that? So we realized the team that we had coming back, how deep we were going to be. And so, I wanted to make sure that we got challenged and we put ourselves in a position where either it's going to make us or break us. And so, with our schedule so far, we have Dillard, two games with Dillard. We have Loyola coming up, and then our 2 exhibition games that we had with Alcorn and Southern Miss, 2 teams that won their regular season championship. So we just felt like that kind of competition keeps us on the edge. And then going to the Battle of the Beast, where Freed Harmon was I think a Sweet 16 or round of 32 participant last year. So and then they won their conference tournament also. So just being able to put out a kind of schedule in place that prepares us for what we'll see hopefully when we get to national stage, and just get us to kind of buy in and play the best brand of basketball early, so we know exactly what we're working with and what improvements we need to make also. So I agree with the challenge. I love the challenge. We'll go play anywhere, anytime, doesn't matter. Guys are pretty fearless, man, and now it's just about when we get an opportunity to go down and we'll be able to showcase our skills. Freed Harmon is going to be an extremely tough test. They're well coached, good balance offensively. They play hard, they're big, and so we have to be able to do some different things against them. And then Warner, year in and year out, is always solid. So we got to make sure that we go down there and play for 40 minutes both games.
Yeah, and then one last thing here. I know I said I'm gonna wrap it up, but just reminded me, as good of the non-conference schedule as you guys have, the Red River seems to get better and better each year as well. And I know you added one team this year. You're going to add another one next year, but so not just it's not going to just be a deep league, but it's going to be a really large league as well over the next couple of years. But you and Shreveport have seemingly always been to the top. You guys are currently the only undefeated teams right now in the regular season. But seemingly the Red River is going to be as strong as ever this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is year. I think this is year 3 for us, 1 and 4. It all blends in sometimes, but since we've been in the league, there have been some really, really good teams. Alexandria's been solid. A team that no one's been talking about really, Our Lady of the Lake. Really, really good program. Really, really good program. They just hadn't had a chance to go on the national stage and play. But I think the last 2 years they could have had an opportunity to get into the round of 64 for sure.
Well, not to interrupt you, but they're coming off a win over a Wayland Baptist team that some of the people across the NEI thought looked like one of the best teams in the country. All in the first couple of games of the season.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. So the point made. So our league is tough. Even Southwest out there in New Mexico, man, they get a lot of talent. And we lost there last year. We also lost at Houston Tillotson. So our league is a tough league. It's some tough places to go play. And you just got to make sure that you're ready to rock and roll when you step out on that floor, man. But I think our league for sure has an opportunity to get maybe 4 teams. With Texarkana, they always reloading. Our Lady of the Lake, like I spoke about, LSUS is going to be tough. We're pretty solid. And then, Alexandria may slide in there. They got a new coach and everything. So it's going to be a tough challenge this year in the Red River. It's going to be a really, really good, tough challenge.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us this year. I know, like we have said numerous times on the podcast throughout the entire episode, one of the best defensive teams in the country. I know that that makes you smile when we say that, but looking forward to watching you guys the rest of the year, and good luck tonight.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
All right. Keep rolling, Coach. We'll see you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Yep.
For those that have not paid attention to Xavier over the past couple of years, I think that hopefully this was a little bit of an enlightening conversation, but also just maybe want to start watching them play, because certainly one of the better defensive teams in the country. But as Coach Lubbers even said in the coaches corner this week, probably a team that we could end up seeing in Kansas City, and nobody should be surprised about if they do make it. I think that we've seen over the last couple of years, those teams that can really defend are the ones that seem to make the biggest runs in the NAI tournament. And as we've talked about even a couple episodes ago with Coach Tonigal, all 3 teams since the merger that won national title have been so good defensively. So, when you hang your hat on the defensive end, you can do a lot of good things, and looking forward to see what Xavier can do this year.
Yep. Yeah. They stay healthy and keep getting better, which I know they will because he's such a really, really good coach. That is a Final 16 team for sure in my eyes. So I think personally, looking at the rankings and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if the next few weeks they just keep moving up and up and up. It is an excellent basketball team on all levels.
As we said, there's going to be a lot of great games this week, and we will have you covered on NEI Hoops Report. Until next week, this is Coach Lubbers Jr. signing off.
We gonna